And welcome back to Bengal Bites, real, raw, unfiltered talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and the NFL. I'm your host, Derek. This is episode 6. This is the Week 1 preview against the Cleveland Browns. In this episode, we're going to break down all the latest on Joe Burrow's contract. We're also going to talk about the historical context behind this game, since it is going to be the 100th meeting, the 100th playing of the Bengals versus the Browns. We're going to preview this matchup against the Browns and take a look at the Browns team, because obviously we've spent a lot of time talking about the Bengals roster and their coaches and what they've been doing. But now we need to take a look at the opponent. We need to study the Browns to figure out what we need to prepare for as we watch the game. I'm also going to go through my complete Week 1 predictions for all the games in the NFL. I'm not going to consider the money lines because those can change day to day. So I'll just give you the straight up which team is going to win the game. So if you're a gambler, you may not be that interested, other than like if you have a survivor pool going and you need to pick which team is going to win. Maybe that'll help you out. But we'll see how I do on my picks throughout the season, just to kind of have a little fun competition. I'm recording this intro before the Thursday night game happens, but by the time we get to the end of the episode, probably Thursday Night Football will have already concluded. I'll try to come back. If there's anything interesting that happened with the Chiefs-Lions game, I'll bring it to you at the end of this episode. As a reminder, this show is not sponsored by anything or anyone. I am completely independent. I'm just a regular fan and a football lover who wants to talk to you about football for free. So if you are a hardcore podcast junkie and you love following the Cincinnati Bengals, this show is for you. In our last episode, Joe Burrow and the team still had not reached a contract extension. All the reporters in town were talking about how it was close, it's closer than ever, it's so close you can taste it, but still nothing pen to paper, nothing finalized yet. Obviously, Zach Taylor didn't say anything worth anything in his press conference about it. We did get Joe Burrow, finally. After 6 long weeks of not seeing Joe Burrow, we finally got to see Joe up on the podium giving a press conference to the media. It had been since his injury that he had spoken with the media, and then he got injured immediately. So this was Joe's first time back in front of cameras, in front of microphones, answering questions from reporters in a long time. And this was the first time the fans has gotten to see him at all either. Like I said, during training camp, Joe Burrow was out of sight. He wasn't giving any interviews, giving any press, nothing. So we've been without Joe Burrow. We've been in a long Joe Burrow drought for this training camp. It's been frustrating, to say the least. But here was Joe Burrow answering the question about how is he able to compartmentalize and focus and go out and just play the game even when he does not have his long-term security and his long-term contract extension.
Yeah, those are all the things that you think about, right? But I feel like the reason I'm in the position that I'm in is because, I love playing football. I work really hard to put myself in a really good position to go out and be successful on Sundays, and that's just what I enjoy doing. I wouldn't be myself if I wasn't able to do that, and I'm not going to let the business side of things take that away from me.
So the part that I like about that quote is where he's talking about just loving the game and not letting the business side of it ruin and take away his enjoyment of doing what he loves to do, which is playing football. Yes, Joe Burrow likes making lots of money and being a millionaire, and he definitely does want to get that big payday, that big extension that's going to make him over 10 times more money than he's made so far in his entire career. And obviously that's the primary reason why he does it. He does love football, but he also loves money. Let's not kid ourselves here. But that being said, he's not going to let it completely get in the way of everything he wants to do, and he's not going to sit at home on the couch and watch everybody else play the game that he feels like he was born to play. Now let's take a listen to the other clip that was going around, making the rounds. And this was in response to a very leading question. But of course, the Bengals wanted to promote this because it makes them look and sound good. But the question was about how much does Joe Burrow want to stay in Cincinnati and make his mark there his entire career. Now, obviously, you have to think when you're speaking to a group, you have to know your audience. So if you're in Cincinnati from a group of Cincinnati reporters who are asking you, how much do you like Cincinnati and how much do you want to stay here your entire career? Of course, you're not going to stand up there and say, oh, I hate Cincinnati. I can't wait to get the F up out of here. And I hate all you. And I hate this franchise. And I wish I could go anywhere else. Obviously, that would not be a good career move. So Joe Burrow, reading the room, being smart, he tells us what we want to hear, which is, of course, that he wants to stay here. So let's listen to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to be my whole career. We're working towards making that happen. You've seen what the front office has done and what Zach has done in their time here, and I'm a small part of that, and I'm excited to be a part of that. And we have great people in the locker room that grind every day, that are excited to go and showcase their talents and excited to do it in the city of Cincinnati. We have the best fans, and so this is where I want to be.
To me, the two things that stood out from that quote were, number one, he said, "This is where I want to be."
This is where I want to be.
And the other thing that stood out to me was the part where Joe Burrow says he's just a small part of the franchise and what they're trying to do. Of course, that's Joe Burrow just being humble, because like I said in the last episode, everybody in the whole organization, the city, the country, everybody knows that Joe Burrow is this team and they wouldn't be where they are without him. So he's just being humble, and I love that about Joe Burrow. But I think deep down, he would even know that how important he is to the city, to the franchise. So I love the humble aspect of Joe Burrow, but that may not be his true personality, because he understands that he is building his persona as a nice, humble guy. That may not be, in fact, his personality. And I would love it if it weren't. I would love it if Joe Burrow was completely full of himself, but he just acted humble in front of the media. That would be great. That would be a great business decision. Joe Burrow is great at making decisions on the football field, and I'm pretty sure he's great at making business decisions. He's got a great agent. His agent represents Joey Bosa, and his agent also represents Justin Jefferson. Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson were teammates in college. They're both represented by CAA agents, and they are a big, powerful. The CAA and Athletes First are kind of the two biggest agent corporations or conglomerates. But in Justin Jefferson's case, he took a little bit different stance of it when the media was asking him what's up with his contract extension. He said, yeah, of course I want a contract extension, but it's up to the team, or it's up to them, meaning it's up to them to match whatever he is asking for. And it's kind of a similar situation. It's kind of a similar situation with Joe Burrow, I think, where it's really up to them to match whatever Joe Burrow is asking for. Like I said, if they haven't met what Joe Burrow is asking for, then it's not good enough. Similar situation with Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson has a price, and if the Vikings haven't met it yet, then it's not good enough for Justin Jefferson, and he can just play out the rest of his contract. They can franchise tag him to extend his contract for additional years at a higher and higher price. Eventually, it's going to reach a point where if they can't come to an agreement on a long-term extension, he's going to be able to hit the free agency market and sign for what his true market value will be. And he's hoping and somewhat putting at risk the idea that if he can stay healthy, make it all the way to free agency, and actually get paid what he's truly worth, it's going to be more than what his original team, the Vikings, are going to be willing to pay him. We did see 49ers defensive end and defensive player of the year nominee Nick Bosa signed a 5-year contract extension worth about $170 million. So he's going to be making a little bit less than $35 million per year on his new contract he had been holding out. So like I said, there's all kinds of players playing it different ways. Some teams don't want to negotiate during the season while the season is still going on. Other teams will continue to negotiate while things are playing out. So we're going to have to see. Maybe Joe Burrow signs the contract extension in the next couple days. We'll see. So contracts aside, what we do know is that these NFL teams are going to be playing each other in week 1. That's the most important part from a fan perspective. So all these teams are going to get started. All the teams in the NFL are going to be playing, and they're going to be as fresh as they can possibly be. This is going to be as good as it gets for the rest of the year. From here on out, teams are going to start to have players get injured, players get fatigued, bruises, bumps, things happen. So this is going to be when everybody should be at their peak, optimal performance levels. We also see teams haven't shown what they want to do strategically. So other teams haven't thought up game plans about how they want to attack and counteract other teams. So it's going to be interesting to see throughout these first games which teams are able to make adjustments on the fly and which teams are just going to be completely outclassed by better coaching, by teams who can make the adjustments better and faster throughout the game to react to what they're seeing on the field in real time because they don't have any tape to really scout teams out with yet. Now, specifically for this Browns-Bengals rivalry, as we know, Paul Brown basically founded both of these teams. He founded the Browns in Cleveland, and then after he got fired by Art Modell, he founded the Bengals down in Cincinnati in 1968. And now they've both been in the NFL since then, and the Bengals lead the series 52-47. This is going to be the 100th meeting between these two teams. So the Bengals have the advantage just by a small margin so far. Lately, they've had a bit of a tough time with Cleveland. I think they're 1-4 in Joe Burrow's games against Cleveland. For whatever reason, the Browns have kind of had Burrow's number. Hopefully, we can get some revenge this game. In terms of things to watch in this game, when the Bengals have the ball, when they're on offense, obviously we're going to be looking at Joe Burrow and what he's doing. Since he's the leader of the offense, he's distributing the ball. So every play, Joe Burrow's going to have the ball in his hands, and we're going to be watching him. But besides Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, number 1, the wide receiver, what else should we be looking at as Bengals fans? I'm going to say the biggest player that makes an impact is number 95 for the Browns, Myles Garrett. He's a defensive end most of the time, and he can line up in the right side or the left side. He's not like TJ Watt. TJ Watt is the left defensive end for the Steelers, and he just lines up in the same spot every single play. Myles Garrett will move around depending on the team he's playing, the situation in the game, and which offensive lineman seems like it's the best matchup for him to go against. Myles Garrett is Cleveland's best player. He's their most dominant player. And so if he finds a matchup that he's able to exploit, he's going to do that. And they're going to just keep. So if, for instance, if he finds that the on the left side works better than the right, he'll just keep lining up on the left every play in the game. Now, what the Bengals and other teams who play against Myles Garrett have to do is when they see a mismatch, if they think that he is going to cause problems, they need to bring in potentially like a tight end or a running back to help out whatever offensive lineman he's trying to exploit. So, for instance, if Myles Garrett is going up against your right tackle, you may want to have your tight end stay in close on the right side to help block so that the right tackle doesn't just get dominated. So you can have kind of not really a true double team, but the tight end can help out a little bit. So it's like kind of like a 1.5 team. It's not a double team, maybe like a 1.5. But Myles Garrett is the biggest impact maker on that Browns defense. So they have to account for where he is on every single play, because if they don't, he can have a serious impact and blow up the play, cause negative yards, cause interceptions, turnovers. He can wreak havoc all over the offense. That's pretty much why the Bengals lost to the Browns in Cleveland last year. On their first drive, Myles Garrett was causing pressure, beating La'el Collins like every single play, and then he finally didn't get pressure, but he got his hands up and deflected the pass that caused it to get intercepted. So Myles Garrett, number 95, he is the one that we need to keep our eyes on every single play when the Bengals have the ball, because he needs to be accounted for. And it's going to be interesting to see the chess match going on between Zach Taylor, the play caller and offensive coordinator, or he's got Brian Callahan as the offensive coordinator, but basically Zach Taylor's the play caller, and also Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator in his first year for the Cleveland Browns. If you remember, Jim Schwartz used to be the Detroit Lions head coach, and I think he was the defensive coordinator for a number of different teams throughout the league. He's worked as an advisor, like a senior advisor executive inside the league office in New York also. So he's got a lot of connections, a lot of respect throughout the league. He's been a veteran in this league for a long time. But Zach Taylor, to my knowledge, hasn't called plays against one of his defenses. Jim Schwartz hasn't been in the AFC North for a while, so it's going to be interesting to see what tricks and what schemes he breaks out for the Browns defense, because he's had a lot of time to study Zach Taylor and Brian Callahan, what their tendencies are just as offensive play callers in philosophy and what they want to do with their offenses. But we don't really know what Jim Schwartz wants to do with this Cleveland defense, how he's going to move his various pieces, including Myles Garrett, around. So that's going to be interesting to see who gets the better of who in terms of a coaching perspective. Like I said, the Bengals have to watch out for Myles Garrett every single play. In a similar way, the Browns defense is going to definitely be watching out for Jamar Chase, number one for the Bengals, every single play. They have to account for where he lines up because he can cause extreme chaos and havoc for a defense every single play if they don't account for him. So you're going to see Jamar Chase probably going to be double teamed on every single play, meaning if it's a pass play, there's going to be two defenders in his area covering him and trying to make sure that he's not able to catch the pass. It's usually going to be the cornerback, and either a safety or a linebacker will come over to help, depending on how they want to play it. They play different types of coverages. They want to disguise it so that it looks different, but every single play, Jamar Chase is going to be double teamed in different ways. They're going to come from different angles, do it in different ways, but he's going to be double teamed every single play, basically. Same thing with T. Higgins. He'll probably see a lot of double teams, but it depends on how much pressure the Browns are able to get with their front four defensive linemen. If they're able to get pressure on Joe Burrow with their front four and leave 7 defenders back to guard the pass, that'll create a lot more double teams they're able to do. But if they need to bring additional blitzers, additional rushers, so like a 5th or a 6th guy, that leaves less people back to defend, fewer double teams on people like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So it's a balancing act from the offense and the defense. From the offensive side, you've got your 5 offensive linemen and your quarterback, which is 6 players. So out of the 11, that leaves 5 players who can potentially go out and be receivers on a pass play. All 5 may not go out for routes. Some of them may stay in to block, like your tight end, your running back. If you keep them in to block, you've got 8 people staying in and only 3 people out on the route. That makes it easier for the defense to cover those 3 receivers, but harder to pressure the quarterback. And vice versa, if the defense sends more people to attack the quarterback, if instead of 4 people they send 5 or 6, if they send 6 people, then they've only got 5 defenders back to defend against the pass. So it's a trade-off for both sides in terms of protecting against the pass rush and protecting against the pass. And the Browns in the offseason did kind of stock up on defensive linemen. In addition to Myles Garrett, they also have number 94, Dalvin Tomlinson, who is a big defensive tackle. They got number 99, Zadarius Smith from the Green Bay Packers, who's long time been at the top of the league in terms of sacks per year. And they also got number 54, Ogbo Okoronkwo from the Houston Texans. I think he also had like 10.5 sacks last year too. So they got a lot of pass rushers. That's going to be something interesting to watch if the Bengals offensive line, including new addition Orlando Brown Jr. and new right tackle Jonah Williams and the rest of the offensive line, to see if they are able to hold up on the ends against those defensive end pass rushers from the Browns. Now, on the opposite side, when the Browns offense is on the field and the Bengals defense is out on the field, we're going to similarly be watching the Browns quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and he was suspended for the first 11 games of last year's season and came in at the end of last year, didn't really look very good. So he's going to be trying to get back to the form he had before he got traded to the Browns. we've seen in years past that he's got the arm talent to make all the throws, and he's an extremely mobile quarterback. So it's going to be tricky to keep him contained inside the pocket, make him throw, and make him throw accurately and on time, and not be able to scramble around and throw downfield, because he can throw pretty much any throw that he needs to all over the field. And if we let our cornerbacks try to cover Amari Cooper, it could be a long day. Now, the Bengals don't have a game wrecker on defense like Myles Garrett. I would say, Trey Hendrickson is a good pass rusher off of the edge. DJ Reader is a good run stuffer up the middle, but they don't have someone who can wreak the type of havoc that Myles Garrett can. But as a unit, as an ensemble, they've proven that they're very effective at preventing the big play. That's the biggest thing, is they tend to play more of a bend but don't break style of defense. So they'll give up some yards, they'll give up first downs, but they don't want to give up points, and they don't want to give up big plays. Besides Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper and the rest of the receivers, Donovan Peoples-Jones, they got also Elijah Moore as their newest receiver they traded for from the Jets. We also have to keep track of number 24, their running back Nick Chubb, who has perennially been one of the leading rushers in the NFL. He's not a huge receiver, but just in terms of running the ball, breaking tackles, being fast, powerful, it's hard to beat Nick Chubb. But what I can say, without a doubt, is that the Bengals definitely have the edge in terms of the place-kicking game. I won't say overall special teams, because the Browns returners, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how the return game goes. Haven't seen a whole lot of excitement from the Bengals returners so far in the preseason, but you never know. They could be saving it up. But we know that Evan McPherson, our kicker, is going to be way better than any kicker that the Browns roll out there. They cut their original kicker, Cade York, in the preseason. I think they got Dustin Hopkins as their kicker, but he was on the injury report, so we'll have to see who the Browns have out there. Doesn't matter. Evan McPherson is going to be better than them. And just to complete our scouting report on the Browns, since they traded for Deshaun Watson, they did not have their first or second round pick in this year's draft. So their first draft pick came in the third round at number 74 overall. So although the Browns do have a ton of stud players, there's not necessarily any stud draft picks, first round, top 10 draft picks to be on the lookout for on the Browns. All right, now I'm going to run through all of my picks for all the week 1 games in the NFL. I'm not going to do any money lines. Like I said, all the money lines can change, and it depends on which book you look. If you look at all the different ones, it can vary. So I'm just going to go straight up which team is going to win the game. So the opening night game, we got Detroit Lions at Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce, the Chiefs star tight end, hyperextended his knee in practice on Tuesday, and he's going to be inactive and miss the game. Even though he's going to be out and he's Patrick Mahomes' favorite target, I still think the Chiefs have enough to win this game at home. So I'm going to take the Chiefs in that one. Then we have Carolina Panthers at Atlanta Falcons. Carolina Panthers were bad last year and haven't looked good so far in the preseason. They have very few starting wide receivers that are active. Adam Thielen sounds like he may be out this game, so we'll see if he's able to go. But I like Atlanta in this one. They look like they have a lot of strong weapons. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and we'll have to see if Cordero Patterson comes back for the Falcons. But the Falcons are going to take that game, I think. Cincinnati Bengals at Cleveland Browns. Of course, I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. I feel like the Bengals just have a stronger team than they had in previous seasons, and Cleveland is maybe on the way down a little bit, so we'll have to see. Jacksonville Jaguars at Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to take the Jags on the road. Anthony Richardson, rookie quarterback, starting for the Colts. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have the advantage there because he's going into his third season. He's going to be much more experienced than Anthony Richardson. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Minnesota Vikings. Even though the Vikings got on a kind of a lucky streak and won a lot of close games, I think the Buccaneers are going to have a down year with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. And I don't know. We'll see. Tennessee Titans at New Orleans Saints. I'm going to take the Saints in this one. Not really sure. We'll have to see how Derek Carr looks for the Saints. But Titans weren't as good as they were last year, so we'll have to see how DeAndre Hopkins looks with Ryan Tannehill on the Titans. San Francisco 49ers at Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to take the 49ers. Like I said, they got Nick Bosa signed to his contract extension, so he should have enough time to get ready to play, and I think he's going to cause a lot of trouble for Kenny Pickett and the rest of the Steelers. So give me the 49ers on that one. Arizona Cardinals at Washington Commanders. Cardinals, we don't even know who their starting quarterback is going to be, so that's a recipe for disaster. I'm picking against the Cardinals probably every single game this year, just a heads up. So I'm going to take the Commanders in that one. I like what Sam Howell did, but Cardinals are going to get destroyed, I think, this year. Then Houston Texans at Baltimore Ravens. Houston looks like they could be feisty, but CJ Stroud, rookie QB. I can't pick a rookie QB against the Baltimore Ravens, so I'm taking the Ravens. Green Bay Packers at Chicago Bears. I'm going to pick the Bears in this one. I think DJ Moore and Justin Fields are going to be a good combination. And I think Jordan Love is going to have a little bit of a break-in period before he gets fully comfortable as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Las Vegas Raiders at Denver Broncos. I think Sean Payton and the Broncos really have a lot to prove to everybody, and the Raiders are in some kind of a weird downward spiral organizationally. I don't know what's going on with the Raiders lately, but I'm picking the Broncos in that one. Philadelphia Eagles at the New England Patriots. Just coming off their Super Bowl appearance where they lost, I'm going to pick the Eagles. I think the Eagles' defensive line is just going to be too much for New England to take care of, and Eagles' offense is unstoppable, so that may be a blowout. We'll have to see if Bill Belichick can get his offense behind Bill O'Brien and Mac Jones turned around. Bill without Tom Brady has really not been the same, so we'll have to see how long Bill Belichick's career continues without Tom Brady, or if he's really on the hot seat this year. Miami Dolphins at Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers. It's probably going to be a close game. I'm just going to give it to the home team in this one. I think Tua was good last year. Justin Herbert also was good last year. If Justin Herbert had stayed healthy, he injured his ribs. Justin Herbert injured his rib cartilage early in the year. And if you're trying to throw as a quarterback, having hurt ribs can be very painful. So I think that kind of hindered him all year long. I want to see a healthy Justin Herbert, what he can do. Los Angeles Rams at Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to take the Seahawks in this one just because the Rams, they've got an old Matthew Stafford, no Cooper Kupp. Who knows how long Cooper Kupp is going to be out? It sounds like he may not just have a pulled hamstring. It may be something nerve damage-wise in his leg. So who knows how long he's going to be out? We'll see. I'm taking the Seahawks and Geno Smith in that one. And then the big matchup on Sunday night, Dallas Cowboys at New York Giants. I'm going to take the home team again, Giants, in this one. I think Dallas was strong last year, but I think the Giants came on even stronger, and now Daniel Jones and Saquon is there. We're going to see what they can do. I think it's going to be a good matchup. And then finally, the grand finale on Monday, September 11th, the Buffalo Bills at New York Jets. This is going to be an interesting, highly anticipated matchup. Everybody who's been watching Hard Knocks and following the Jets when they traded for Aaron Rodgers, and then it was this long, drawn-out process of, are they going to trade for him? Are the Packers going to give up Aaron Rodgers? Yes, they finally did. He got in the camp, and all the people in New York are super excited. It's the battle of the real New York team versus the New Jersey New York Jets. And in this one, I'm going to take the Jets. I am buying the hype. Maybe it's foolish of me, but I think the Jets defense just looks so good that I'm buying the hype on the Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson look good, and the Jets defense looks incredible, at least from the way they look on HBO. So those are all my picks. I mostly picked the home team just because home teams often have the advantage, they say, but for whatever reason, it just looked like a lot of the home teams were the stronger ones in this matchup. The 4 road teams that I did have winning were the Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, San Francisco 49ers, and Philadelphia Eagles. So all the really strong teams from last year, I think are going to win pretty much. The only upsets I really have here are the Jets over the Bills. Maybe you could say Giants over Cowboys is an upset, but otherwise I'm sticking with the Lions pretty much. So after this, I'm going to come back with just some comments if anything interesting happened in the Thursday night football game with the Lions against the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs are a big rival for the Bengals, so we want to keep an eye on their season, how they progress without Travis Kelce in their opening game, how Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the team looks without Orlando Brown at left tackle like they had last year. So I'll be right back with thoughts on the Thursday night game and then close out the show. All right, now it is after Thursday night football, the first game of the kickoff week of NFL 2023. The Lions beat the Chiefs without Chris Jones, without Travis Kelce. Kadarius Toney was dropping every ball in sight. It was going through his arms, going through his legs, hit him in the face. He was getting beat up by the ball, and it wasn't the prettiest game, but the Lions were pumped up. Jared Goff was like going crazy on the field. He had the fans, the Lions fans were somehow traveling to Arrowhead. Everybody's traveling to Arrowhead, even the Bengals fans. But sometime during the first half of the Chiefs-Lions game, the news broke on ESPN and Twitter and everywhere else that Joe Burrow had reportedly, according to sources, agreed with the Bengals on a contract extension of 5 years, $275 million. So that would replace his existing rookie contract, and he would get a new contract. It wouldn't be like an extension, so he'd be signed for 7 years. It'd be throw away his 4th and 5th year, and now he's going to get a new contract worth $275 million, which would give him $55 million per season on average. We don't know any of the details. We don't know how much is guaranteed. We don't even know if this is confirmed yet. So I went to the Bengals official website, and Jeff Hobson, who is the writer for the Bengals, had a story on there that says, according to ESPN, Joe Burrow is going to sign an extension with the Bengals. It's like, Jeff, you work for the Bengals. How do you not even know what's going on? Or why are you forced to report on things that ESPN is reporting on? It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, that's the best we have is ESPN and NFL.com, and all the major publications are reporting it. So it must be true. It must be substantial. If it weren't, somebody's in big trouble. So we can all breathe a little bit easier knowing that Joe Burrow is going to have that contract when he goes out there on week 1. Everything is set. We can all rest easy knowing that we're not going to get any of the money from Joe Burrow's contract, and it's not going to affect us at all. But thank goodness Joe Burrow is going to be signed up for the next 5 years, and that's really all that we care about. So we may see an official announcement sometime today, tomorrow. We don't know. It doesn't really matter. All we really care about is that Joe Burrow said,
This is where I want to be.
And that's all I needed to hear. So he can just go out there and be the Joe Burrow that we know and love and leave those Browns fans crying in their beers this Sunday. So on the next episode, hopefully we'll have a victory episode where we can break down a Bengals win over the Browns in Cleveland, and we'll break it down every step of the way, the good, the bad, the ugly, the post-game interviews, and all that great stuff. And we'll also take a look at all the games throughout the league and anything interesting that happened and how I did with my game picks. So until next time, hoo-day, and stay hungry for more Bengal Bites.
Davis goes in motion, and he takes the handoff around the end, and then scoots outside. Makes a great cut. Leaps across the 40 at the 50-yard line. He's to the 40 at the 20. Derek Davis all the way. Touchdown, Princeton.